Lim.
Good morning.
That is stressful enough to cause a heart attack for me.
Being told to grow up,
No,
or to
both.
being
Being
told
that people
somebody
grew up
listening to you.
Well, it'd be like a doctor delivering a baby and then having the baby, 45-year-old baby saying, "Oh, you delivered me."
It happens. It's crazy.
All right.
And it's a blessing in a lot of ways.
You're right. Absolutely. Right.
Heart attacks and stress. This came out this week, and
New study.
The study is kind of interesting. There's a lot of scientific technicalities to it. They use things called PET scans, which kind of looks at the metabolic function of the brain. They found that there's a certain part of the brain called the amygdala, which is hyperactive in folks that are higher stressed. And that hyperactivity did correlate to a much higher risk of developing heart attacks later on.
So this study, it makes sense. The more stressed you are, the more you grit your teeth, the more you're on edge, could certainly cause heart attacks. But this sort of explains the science behind it?
Well, this kind of elucidates, I think, a different piece of information, which is brain activity associated with stress being correlated. We've looked at other things in terms of inflammatory markers, so higher levels of inflammation also are present with higher levels of stress, and they certainly indicate higher risk for heart attacks. So the pieces, I think, continue to fall in line in terms of stress and heart attacks definitely do have a significant relationship.
Yeah.
I have a question. What about, you hear about people having those sudden heart attacks who literally just go like that, and then people who are actually, hey, I don't feel right, and end up going to the hospital and survive? What's the difference?
Good question.
It's a great question. The difference in a lot of ways is luck. There's a lot of things that people call heart attacks that aren't necessarily what a doctor would call a heart attack. So what would a doctor call a heart attack? That is when you don't have enough blood flow to part of your heart because there's a plaque in the blood vessel that supplies the blood to that part. That plaque ruptures and breaks open. Could be indicated by stress, as we're talking about today. And that rupturing causes a blood clot, which causes a sudden cessation of blood flow to that area. And that's a heart attack. So it kind of depends on where that plaque is, how much heart tissue it supplies with respect to how severe it is. And you got the plaque in the wrong place in the wrong time. It actually can be catastrophic. And it's impossible to predict these things.
How do you know when somebody had a heart attack?
So multiple different ways. Sometimes they remember symptoms. Sometimes there's the thing called silent heart attack, so they don't necessarily know.
Right.
Then we got to use some testing to try to figure it out. That shows up on EKGs sometimes. That shows up on our ability to look at heart function. And we have a lot of different ways to do that. We have nuclear scans, echo, which is ultrasound scans, and other ways to scan how that heart works. And when we see part of the heart that doesn't work as well, it's kind of scarred. That's evidence from a previous heart attack.
So you've seen people where they've had a previous heart attack and never came in to get help or knew they had it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's sort of the opposite of your question. So that people never even knew they had a heart attack. It's far from one that's catastrophic up front. But I think the thing that kind of strikes me now, McGraw, in terms of this study isn't earth-shattering in terms of stress and heart attacks. Everybody gets it. But in reflecting back on the past couple weeks and what we hear, what you guys end up talking about in the news because it's popular. And
right.
There's a lot of hate and there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of stress these days, way more than in your younger days of radio.
Right.
I don't think this is actually...
That's stressful right there.
There you go. Add some stress to you. But I think that we need to take a step back a little bit. And I would angle this study and what we're talking about this morning to hopefully get all of us to rethink the energies that we put into things. I would hope that we could find ways to point out the good things about folks, find good things in your day, and let's stop spending a whole lot of energy hating and finding what's wrong with other people and other things. That stress and that anger, it cannot be good for you.
Do you see when people get stress relieving, whether it's running, exercising, yoga. Do you see the physical effects of that take over?
Absolutely. And so the other thing with respect to trying to refocus your energies is, do something about it. You say, well, I'm a really stressed person all the time. There are opportunities to do something about it. Yoga does work. Meditation does work. 5 minutes of meditation. You're blessed with a great studio up here. You can look out the windows and you can meditate for 5 minutes looking at whatever you want. There doesn't have to be an eclipse to do that. And you just, that's a complete de-stressing thing. And you might not notice it yourself, but the people you hang around with are going to notice when you actually can do this effectively, whatever it is, meditation or yoga or Tai Chi, another thing you can get into. It's a mind-body exercise. There's a big difference. People's blood pressures calm down, people's resting heart rates actually calm down, and people act differently.
So
Hey, McGraw.
Yeah.
Can I chime in here a minute?
You already have. Go ahead.
Excuse me, but this happened.
Hold
This
on a
happened
second.
to me.
The doctor doesn't have headphones, so keep your question short, and I'll
Okay,
pass it
well,
on to him.
this happened to me. I had a silent heart attack. And it happened, and I didn't know until the next day. My arms felt like lead. I felt sweaty and sick, and I went to sleep. And then the next day, I had the same incident, and I went into the emergency room. And while I was in there, they were taking blood, and the doctor said, "Yeah, he's having a heart attack because of the enzymes showing up." So I had no idea this was going on. And to me now, walking 4 and 5 miles a day is very. The cardiologist said, "Yeah, just keep doing that." So I just want to chime in because what you're talking about really hit home with me, because it took me until the next day to really realize I should have gone to the hospital the night before, but waited. So. That's my point. It really hits home.
You know what you learn and don't make the same mistake twice is very important. That walking 4 to 5 miles a day is also de-stressful as well as improving your cardiovascular fitness.
Yeah.
So perfect.
I find myself cutting wood and working in the house, and I find that to be a stress reliever. I'm sure hobbies and just getting your mind off of things.
Absolutely.
Doing things you like, right?
Hobbies are beautiful. Doing things you like, woodworking or anything else that really is highly enjoyable, that you can get lost in for a period of time. That is de-stressful by definition.
Yeah.
So these are the things I think we need to commit some more energy and focus on.
Dr. Lim saying cutting wood is the best stress reliever out there. That's what he just said.
Things that make you happy.
Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM St. Louis University Hospital. All of that and no copay either for that.
It's all that.
It's all that. Doctor, thanks for coming in. Good stuff today.
Have a good day.
829, Big 550.